My name's Aaron Massey. For some of you who might be visiting over from John's social pages, here with John, the builder Malecki. This is the Mr. Fix-It YouTube channel is the channel that I operate, and it's home improvement, DIY, build projects, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, John, you want to introduce yourself a little bit, I guess?
Yeah, I am a full-time furniture builder and I guess you could call a maker. Just started a YouTube channel a couple months back. I've been following Aaron for a long time now. Dude does some not even just killer quality work, but the quality of the videos is on point. So hit him up. We think this is pretty cool. We're pretty stoked that you guys are tuning in. Hopefully we can answer some questions when it comes to, I guess, woodworking or furniture making, as well as home improvement and DIY stuff, because I have a little bit of background there. I grew up, with a handy family, as well as picked a thing up here and there from fellow YouTubers like Aaron.
Yeah, that's I guess what's cool is I have a little bit more of a contractor background, and John has a little bit more of a woodworking, furniture design, building background. So I think as far as questions goes and things, one of us should be able to interact with you guys and answer any questions that you have regarding either your home improvement or furniture design or building or woodworking or any of that type of stuff. So like we said, go ahead and ask questions if you want to. We got a few earlier that I've set aside, and John has a few. We'll get to those later. But for now, I think we'll just start with like what we're working on. So John, what are you currently working on?
So on my bench right now, I have an 8-foot by 4-foot wide cherry conference table. It is a bear, about 2 inches thick, right around there. It is going into a renovated space out here in Pittsburgh, which is where I'm from. So this morning, I glued it up in 3 sections. Threw that on my Instagram page if you want to check out a photograph. And I have the 2 of them, so 6 of the boards of the 9 glued up right now, which was a huge pain in the ass, but a great, great looking wood. I love cherry wood. It's a cool project. It's just big, man. It's like I have no idea why I like taking on these monster projects, but it takes up like my whole damn shop. So that's what I got going on right now.
As far as what it is that I'm working on right now is I'm doing something a little bit different. I've taken a break from some of the project build videos that I've been putting out the last month or two, and I'm back to working on my house, doing some remodeling stuff. Right now I'm remodeling the entryway of my house, and that always takes a little bit of time. I got most of the work done over the weekend, but I've still got a bit more work to do. And then I've been building some random stuff. I've got a couple tables in progress, coffee tables, that I'm going to be doing. I've got a second. I did a video a while back about a wine barrel build.
Yeah, that was cool, dude.
So I've got the other half of that. So I'm working on slowly building the other half of that. And then I've got another table that I'm doing that I haven't really pushed at all. It's been sitting for a long time. I've got an old like redwood burl, and I put a concrete top on it, and so it's kind of all one piece. But I haven't really showed anybody that, and I'm trying to get that finished up. I've had it for a long time. I started it like 6 months ago and then never finished it.
Is that the keeper piece? That's the one that's going to be in the house?
No, I'm going to sell it, I hope. But
burl's worth good money, dude. That's some cool stuff. Do you have any idea what kind of burl? Redwood, you said, right?
Redwood, I think, yeah.
You can't get anywhere near redwood out here in the East.
I'm from the East Coast as well. I'm from upstate New York originally, and the woods out here are so hard to get back there, and the woods back there are so, so hard to get out here. It's crazy. So I see, like, I always see these guys working with, like, crazy amounts of black walnut and all this type of wood. And I'm like, dude, there's no walnut around.
Nowhere to be found.
Well, first of all, there's no wood of any kind in Los Angeles because it's just a concrete jungle. So it's a little bit tricky to pull wood out here. What do you? I guess we could talk about that a little bit. Where do you get your material from mostly?
I source from all over the place. I use a ton of reclaimed stuff. So I'm using barnwood. I'm using a lot of old wall studs. So because Pittsburgh is an older city, you got a ton of homes that are, a century plus of age inside them. So people will be coming in and remodeling, tearing out walls and whatnot, and I'll snag up those wall studs, and they're all like true by fours or actual 4x4s with some great patina on them, and you can get all the old, I guess, like dust and dirt from like coal furnaces and stuff that really get embedded in the wood and make it look really, really freaking cool. So I mill that stuff down. I do a ton of work with that. A lot of it's mostly knotty pine, and then I do or yellow pine, and then I do a lot of barnwood, a lot of oak barnwood, and you'll catch some other stuff here and there. And then I got a hardwood lumber yard that I go to, and I buy all the exotic woods that you guys see my cutting boards made out of, and like the cherry table I was just talking about, I bought from there. You can get a lot of wood on Craigslist here, but I'd be hesitant because that shit's usually not dry, and it'll come and bite you if it's
Right.
if it's a little damp and it pops down the line, or you're trying to mill it and it's just tearing your blades to pieces.
A little bit similar out here. So I use a lot of reclaimed stuff as well. Most of the stuff that I do is reclaimed because it's a lot of upcycling type of thing, whatever I can get my hands on for cheap. And, I kind of build things atypical from what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
I actually found a lumber yard that gets all the raw stuff in from barn people who tear down old barns and all sorts of stuff.
They even have barns out there?
Yeah. The Central Valley and all that, like out by wine country and all that stuff in California, farther up north from LA, is like, it's all farmland. It's all, vineyards and farms and they farm a ton of stuff out there. This lumber yard, it's actually super close to my house. It's pretty convenient, and the guys over there are great. So I pull a lot of wood from there because it's all just stuff. They take it and they mill it down, and they make hardwood floors and all sorts of stuff, and then they resell it back to different retailers and all that type of stuff. But I just go in and it's just piles. They just have piles of lumber just every which way, and
awesome, man.
They just kind of let me pull stuff, and I go in there and pull stuff, and every time I go there it's different because the piles, they take a forklift around and drive and pick stuff up, and so sometimes you'll find a piece and you'll be like, oh, this is the perfect piece that I need.
Yeah.
And completely buried, and you can't well, come back in a couple weeks, you might be able to find it.
Yeah. That's good. That's cool, dude. My lumberyard it's just all exotic hardwoods and regular stock hardwoods. They have a mill factory, so they're doing like trim work, and they're doing doors and corgles and all kinds of stuff that you have to have like a high-end shop for. But I guess a piece of advice I give to a lot of people is, you can buy your stuff milled. You pay an extra couple bucks for it, but you can buy your stuff milled from the lumber yard and get it squared up, and it saves you a ton of time, and you can really learn a lot about woodworking without doing the jointing, without doing the planing.
Right.
Get you into it. I do that. Hell, those guys are running huge machines in there. If you can get your stuff planed on their 20-inch helical head, brand new 220 volt planer, why wouldn't you, when instead of bringing it into your shop and running it on your 12-inch tabletop? So when I go out there, I'm usually going to pay an extra couple bucks because I gotta drive an hour to get there, but I'm getting it all milled too.
Well, I think that's just good advice in general, especially for people who are starting out, because those tools are pretty cost prohibitive.
And they're one-trick ponies. You don't want to invest in it unless you're doing this all the time. Like even your joiner's got some years on it. I noticed in your shop tour.
Yeah.
But it's like, you don't really want to take the time to refurb it because it's not something you're going to be using every day, when you could put some more time into other aspects of whatever you're working on. So
right.
I get it done as often as I can by the shop.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's worth the extra couple bucks to get square lumber and stuff. If there's one thing about reclaimed that is challenging. It's trying to make something. Yeah, I mean, you can't really make something that's reclaimed like that if it's not milled. You can't make it as precise as you want. There's just no way. I mean,
No, you got to understand when you're working with reclaimed materials too that it's almost impossible to get something to be perfect. And if you have a client that is looking for something that wants to be reclaimed and perfect, just go ahead and explain to them, like, look, this wood is sitting in a barn outside for 140 years, and it has 1,000 nail holes. Like, it is not meant to be perfect.
right.
And the stuff you're seeing in a lot of places looks reclaimed and is rough on and blah, blah, blah. That stuff's not actually pulled from, a reclaimed source. It's all just remade to look like that. So it's there's give and take with it. So I always have to let my client know ahead of time. This isn't going to be perfectly flat. You understand that? There's a reason it looks like this, because it's old as shit.
Yeah, exactly. I think most people are, if they want that look, then they're totally receptive to it, and they understand, like, you can't, unless you're buying stuff from like Restoration Hardware or something, where, like you're saying, they take perfectly milled lumber and beat the crap out of it and make it look.
Yeah, it's reproduced. It's not actually reclaimed.
Why don't you talk about your shop a little bit and what kind of setup you have, and then I'll talk a little bit about my setup.
So I have a rent a space. My space is in one of the suburbs of Pittsburgh here. It's in the basement of an old school building. It's pretty cool. It's got a little Jimmy DiResta feel to it. I got to go down like a little bit set of stairs and go through a door. And but I got like 1,000 to 1,200 square feet. Got my table saw with a nice outfeed table on it, and as well as a 8x4 foot assembly table. I got a 16-inch bandsaw, a miter saw station. I got everything around the walls is pretty much wrapped up with some type of toolage. And obviously, I'm always looking to upgrade. And then I got a finishing room and a storage room for some lumber. So I'm for like the small-time woodworker, the small-time like business guy, I have a decently good shop. I got some tools need upgrading. My planer needs upgrading. My joiner, you always want a bigger joiner. And my belt sander, I would always like to jump those up. I'd also like to get some more horsepower down there for my table saw too. Gets hung up on too often these days, if I could say so.
Yeah, what kind of power setup do they have running down there? Is it? I
have a 30 amp breaker, and I got my dust collection running on one, and then all my tools running on another. And because it's just me, I'm usually not blowing it or anything. But I had one 220 line ran for my welder, and then I had all the tools in a garage first, so I didn't have 220. So everything's 110, and it's all good stuff. But if you can put more juice in the machine, you obviously want that, because it's going to run better, run more efficient. It's going to wear less on the blades. It's going to wear less on anything. So I'm in the process of like trying to, I guess, persuade my landlord to let me run a couple more 220 lines down there, get my table saw upgraded, as well as a few other tools. My
setup is, I guess, a little bit more typical to the average kind of hobbyist, which is it's just my garage. I have an attached garage. It's about 19 by, I forget what it is, 19 by 16, something like that. So not a huge amount of square footage, probably 300 and something square feet.
Mm-hmm.
I lost a bit because I put a closet for house stuff.
Yeah, I saw that.
I didn't have anywhere else to go with it, so that's where it just had to go. Yeah, I need it. Well, I didn't build a shed, but I've got. Eventually, I'd like to build a little pole barn or something up on the top of the driveway that I could use as a shop. But for now, this is kind of the spot. And I've got most tools I think that I need as far as doing the woodworking thing, and definitely have enough to do all the home improvement stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The obvious tools that are on my wish list are, we were chatting a little bit about, I need to get a benchtop planer to do a little bit more of the cutting board thing and some of the stuff I want to do, just for little projects, gifts and things like that.
Yeah.
And I need a bandsaw. I don't have a bandsaw, so I do a lot of freehanding with the jigsaw.
I saw that.
I'm pretty good at it, but could really save my save myself some work if I could get a bandsaw.
Jigsaw's a pain. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, the jigsaw that I have is not necessarily top of the line either. It's it's a little, but it works. I mean, I've had it for a number of years, and it works. And a lot of the tools that like I mentioned in my shop video and stuff, a lot of the tools that I've had I use them because I beat the crap out of them on random job sites and doing things. So I never really spent the money on the high end ones.
Yeah.
Now that I'm doing this stuff a little bit more full time and a little bit more serious than I would consider maybe a little hobby, I'm willing to spend a little bit more money, like on stuff like my dust collector and stuff like that I've.
Yeah, dust collection, it doesn't matter. I mean, I would highly recommend to anyone running. I don't care if you have, bottom of the barrel Ryobi tools, or if you're running high end, Powermatic and like Bailey style stuff. Like, if you can get the dust out of the machine, it just runs so much more efficiently. I mean, even if you're just hooking up a shop vac, before I could get, I don't even have proper dust collection. I run a hose to each machine and use like Rocklers, setup jig, whatever. But the 2 horsepower dust collector does wonders. But even just your little 8-gallon shop vac, plugging that into your whatever machine you're using, it'll save your blades, it'll save your motor, it'll save your cut will be cleaner. It's one of those things that you don't realize until you do it. You're like, why the hell wasn't I using anything to collect dust before this? And it keeps your shop clean. So I highly recommend it to at least go on Craigslist and snag up some kind of dust collection early on. I would even suggest that before like upgrading to a bigger table saw. Rock a contractor saw and a little dust collector, dude. You're good to go.
I mean, even Harbor Freight or any of that, like
that's what mine is. It works. I built a 2-stage baffle and a trash can. It works pretty damn well, and I got myself after 2 years of using it, I got a HEPA filter for the top. You can make stuff like that work, and it works well, and you don't have to dump a ton of money into it.
I bought a Grizzly big dust collection system. I wanted to just spend the money on it. It was a thing I saved up for a long time, and like you mentioned, it's 110 or 220.
Yeah, great.
You can change it back and forth, or if you needed to, or depending on what your shop setup is and that kind of thing. So, fortunately, I rebuilt this shop, from the ground up. I stripped the whole thing out and I ran all new breakers and everything for it, specifically to make it as a shop, so I didn't have to, worry about that stuff. So I ran, 220 all over the place, and I ran a bunch of 110 circuits, and so I had plenty of power.
Yeah, I'm in a basement with 6-foot thick concrete walls, so I have to ram set anything I want in the wall. Like I got to go rent like a Hilti drill to get into the walls. They're so hard, and I don't really have a big hammer drill, so I use a ram set because that's how pain in the ass my shop is right now.
Ideally, I think I would just run conduit. I would run conduit on the exterior of it, and just.
That's what it is. I have X2 running everywhere. I don't touch electrical though. That's like, I'm not ready for that life.
I mean, I don't do it on an industrial level. I'm not there, but residential and small stuff like that, completely comfortable with that.
There's a lot of pros for a reason. That's something that, I mean, if you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. I can call a buddy or call someone and have them come in for $50 under the table and run me a line. So like I'm more than willing to do that instead of blow up my landlord's building trying to go into the box with the new.
Well, yeah, if you don't own it, I don't necessarily recommend that you start, tweaking with the electrical.
Yeah, I mean, I envy people who know what they're doing. It's a good skill to have.
Let's see here. We got a couple questions in the chat bar here. I don't know if you want to go into some questions or not.
I see those.
I just realized I forgot to post on my Facebook page that we were live, so I just posted the link to it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you know what? I should have probably done that too. Well, we'll write it out. So We got SF Films with what's your favorite project? I mean, I'll jump into that. The project I'm working on right now, obviously you want to say that, but I recently was able to do a, I guess, more artistic piece. It was a wall piece that I designed and mocked up on a 3D modeler and had renderings done and stuff, blah, blah, of one of the bridges here in Pittsburgh, the Clemente Bridge, for Lululemon, which is a yoga. They do yoga clothing and athletic apparel, and they're pretty big in that world. But one of their stores in the area, I did a probably 11-foot tall by 7-foot wide piece of like art, and it looks like a bridge in a perspective. So you can check it out on my Instagram and my Facebook. But it's pretty damn cool, and I was really happy with with myself after we built that. When I could probably pull it up and then screen share it, huh?
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe. Let's see if we can do that. But yeah, dude, that's to date, that's probably my favorite project. It was just something that was super challenging, and that was not a little bit, that was a lot outside the box. And I really had to like turn on the creative aspect of what I wanted to do, because it wasn't you know what I mean? It's not a dining table, it's not a coffee table, it's not the stuff I'm used to. So I had to go ahead and get pretty creative, and then I had to actually push myself the technical side too, because the company wanted to have 3D renderings, which I don't always do, but I can. I do use SketchUp for a lot of my builds and for my clients. So that was another challenge went along with it. So that's probably why that's my favorite at the moment. Who knows? This next project I build could probably be something that's just as much my favorite. What about you?
I think, like you, I mean, the projects I do are so unique and so kind of spur of the moment. I really am pretty passionate about whatever project I'm currently working on. I think the wine barrel table, well, I've done a couple of them. The wine barrel tables are always fun for me. This last one was really cool because I got to do it actually through the vineyard, and going to the vineyard and picking out the barrel and actually meeting the people who make the wine and the whole process and all that type of stuff.
This video is on.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it for me than just the build, I think. So that one, I think, is one of my favorite projects. And then my master, and not just necessarily the build side of things, but my master bedroom remodel as a project, the whole thing, is something that I'm really proud of, because I had to go all the way down to the ground and start from scratch and go back up and build everything. And I built everything in there by myself, pretty much. The fireplace, mantle, everything, the vanity, the top. I've made videos about all this stuff, and gutting the whole house and then rebuilding it. I think I'm pretty proud of that. So that's also one of my favorite projects.
I mean, yeah, that's for sure something to be proud of. That is that's a hell of a undertaking to go. And I mean, I've done bathrooms and a little bit of remodeling, and that shit it's not the easiest. So I would probably be up there in my favorite project as well, man. That's something pretty cool.
I think
I got a picture. All right, how do I screen share this? Sorry to cut you off.
No, on the left. I think on the left side you can pull up.
Is that up?
Yep, I see it.
Yeah, so that's the art piece. Sorry that took so long. But you can see it's like 3-dimensional. It's using barnwood. Everything there is done by hand. It's got like that perspective look to it. Came out pretty cool.
Is that steel? The suspension portion?
So the suspension, yeah, it's all metal, or just sheet metal, or raw steel. The beams are actually coming off the wall, so you can see those a little bit better.
Well, on the left side, I can see it looks a little bit like whatever they call those things.
Bridge truss.
Yeah, like on concert stage. It looks like where they rig the lights and all that stuff on them.
Yeah, so it's supposed to look like the bridge supports. So that's here's another photo. That's pretty cool. So you can see this one here. They're 3-dimensional, and that whole piece like perspectively goes off into space. So it was a cool, challenging, piece of like art, and all the barnwood is tapered to look like it's going away into the distance. So that was a fun one.
What was your timeline on that build? How long did it take you?
It took 2 months to get approval from corporate. So I had to, like I said, I had to go back and forth with sketches and renderings and get the 3D rendering and put it into, photographs of the actual space. And it took me like weeks to figure it out because I'm not used to making stuff that intricate on SketchUp. And it took me a while. So that was, and then the build itself, we mocked it up in a week, and then threw it up there overnight, about 7 hours.
Did you mock it up in your shop beforehand?
So a buddy of mine does metal work, and we collaborated on that because he's really talented, and he has a shop with 20-foot ceilings. So we went in there and literally like taped off a section of the wall and mocked the whole thing up. If you go back on my Instagram, I might have actually deleted it, but I have a picture of like that next to the rendering, and no one knew what the hell it was until I got done, and it was like, oh. So it was there's no way I could have done it in my shop because it was, like I said, 11 feet tall, and I have nowhere close to that. My ceilings are like 7 feet. I can look up and like lick them. They're so short. So how long were you working on the master? The master, dude?
Oh man. Well, I'm a little embarrassed to say how long it took me because it took me like 6 months to.
Well, remodeling your own house always takes way longer than when you're contracted to do someone else's.
Yeah, and like I said, everything in there is custom built, is handmade and designed and built by me, with the exception of like I did spend the money on my bed and dresser and stuff just because I didn't have the time to build that type of stuff. I would have liked to have taken the time to try it, but it just wasn't worth it. And but yeah, it took me about 6 months. I was working a full-time job also while I was doing it, so it was nights and weekends mostly. And I was filming videos as I went, as each project that I was doing. So anytime you do that, it adds about like, I don't know, what would you say? How long when you're filming stuff, does it add like, when I'm filming stuff, it adds like 2/3 the amount of time to it?
Well, that's because your videos are on point. Like you're doing a lot of intricate stuff. I would say my time, like, probably like, I would say doubles. But I'm like so rookie, dude. I'm literally walking around with the camera on a tripod, and like I'm at the point now where I just take it, like set it up, zoom in on it, and then do the work. And I do a lot less. I do a lot less of the me in front of the camera talking as you do, right. Which I probably could change up. But the me just like working with terrible noise in the background, and sometimes it's like blurry shit. I made a video this week that I'll drop that of me making a cutting board and hand burning a emblem in it. Mm-hmm. Camera turned off like half the minute I started doing the burning sequence, so I got none of it. Like I'm just super rookie with the camera, so it takes me way too long. The issue is I do this my livelihood. I'm doing it as a business, and like I'm taking all this extra time to make videos to put up, so I gotta figure that shit out quicker.
It's a real challenge. Like I think that's one of the biggest challenges about doing this type of work and balancing it with the videos and trying to figure out the schedule and the timeline and everything. Obviously, YouTube expects a certain level of consistency and frequency, and we're not. I think as a type of person, most of us, the DIY types and the woodworkers and all that stuff, we're not really vlogging types. So it's not like we can turn on the camera and make a quick video. We're building a project, which takes time, and making a video as we go. And like you said, like there's been so many times where I've gotten so frustrated because I'm doing the stuff by myself, and I'll realize like 20 minutes into filming that I've been talking to the camera and I never turned the mic on.
Yeah, you make the dumbest mistakes. You're just like, kidding me. It's the worst.
It's incredibly frustrating, but it's kind of, the whole idea is that, you make these videos, you show people cool stuff that you're doing, you build community, you interact with each other. Obviously, that's how we met each other and stuff. So it's worth it. It's just a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, which is, I've been fortunate that my fan base is super appreciative and they like it. And I also ask them for feedback. So it's cool to, be able to get what they're looking for in my videos and whatnot. I'm not as much of a tutorial type of guy. I'm more just building in front of the camera, more or less. So I'll walk you through here and there. Or I'll just throw like, speed up a video and go through a build. So I'm learning the process, dude. You don't want it to, exactly what we were saying, you don't want it to become something cumbersome to your workflow, because that way then it starts taking away from what you're doing and it becomes no fun. But I enjoy putting videos out there and seeing what people think. I'm a big fan of just being exposed and out in the elements and then seeing if you can, overcome it or conquer it, which is, I think, what YouTube is, man. There's a ton of opinions out there and there's a ton of people with wealth of knowledge, and I've had nothing but positive feedback. So I'm pumped. I've been putting videos out and people are digging them. I mean, hell, I've been watching your videos for years, so I think that it's hugely valuable.
Building a community and building all these people, it's really, that's the most rewarding part, is people engaging and commenting and saying they like your stuff, or they're going to try and build something that you're building or something similar, whatever. And a lot of it is, kind of what you're saying as figuring it out as you go, kind of building on the fly kind of thing. And no two jobs are the same. No two builds are exactly the same.
No.
So it's always a little bit of troubleshooting and figuring things out. So even if somebody tries to build exactly what it is that you're building, the wood they have is going to be different, everything.
Yeah, so changes. I'm with you, dude. Like, I could take the door coffee table you did and try to replicate it, and there's no chance I could do something the exact same as you. So that's what, like, I learned. I do this full time for myself, and I learned every skill I have on YouTube or somewhere on the internet. So, like, for me to be able to go and give back and, like, create a channel that people are digging and learning from and are inspired in, I think that's one of the most rewarding and cool things that we can do as makers that have any knowledge, like you sharing your knowledge as well when it comes to anything you feel like you're an expert at, or even if you're not. I think that's the greatest part of YouTube. And as much as we get flack from, like, our parents and grandparents, it's the coolest part about our day and age, is that a lot of people aren't afraid to hop on the internet and ask a question or create community around something. So this is, like, the whole YouTube world it's something that I dig it. It's pretty cool, man. And I'm glad we're doing stuff like this.
Yeah, it's just a really cool platform to be able to just, there's no excuse anymore for not knowing how to do something or not having the resources to try and do something if you actually want to learn how to do it. If you don't want to do it, that's one thing. But if you want to learn how to do it, there's no barrier to entry to learning how to do it anymore. You just
yeah, and that's it. Like, I can't tell you how much knowledge I've pulled off of YouTube. You can check out my blog. I talk about, I'm watching YouTube videos still to this day, years and years into it, to pick up little things here and there that you don't know. Because I think I've always learned this in life, and when I played sports, there's always someone bigger and better than you out there. So I'm more than willing to go and find that person and learn from them. So, I mean, that's how I found your channel, dude.
Yeah, same. I mean, I found your stuff on Instagram, which is a platform that I don't even consider myself to be remotely an expert in. But I found your stuff and I was like, man, this is next level. I got to reach out to this guy.
I'm pumped. There's community all over the place. You just got to be willing to be a part of it. And I really think that doing stuff like this, and then I think the Instagram community is really cool. Even though it's just a glimpse and a snapshot, people are really into it and they're really positive, and I get a lot of good feedback, and I meet a lot of good people on there. So I'm stoked for where the community is moving to. Woodworking and remodeling gets a bad rap because it's just been something that's, like, been there forever, or it's boring, and I think it's catching some steam now.
Yeah, which is great, man. It always has gotten a bad rap, in my opinion. It's just like, I feel like in school they taught you that trade work is not a valuable thing. It's like you got to go get on higher education and become doctors and lawyers and stuff, and that's awesome, but it's not for everybody. And there's real value in having these skill sets, and being able to contribute. Society needs all aspects of people.
They do, man.
Plumbers, electricians, all that stuff, and there's value there. And
you can make as much money as a welder coming out of school as you can as a fourth-year accountant at one of the big four. So like the trades are, I mean, the trades are great, dude. I wish, well, they got rid of them in my high school, but I wish I would have looked into it more as a kid. I learned everything, like I said, YouTube, or my dad taught me a lot of stuff when I was younger. So,
Right. Yeah.
I
Same thing. I'm psyched that it's, there's this maker movement and people getting back to working with their hands and making videos and doing this
hell
stuff.
yeah.
I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Hell yeah. I'm glad anyone that asks me a question on Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, I'm totally down, to answer and help them, because I think that this is like, as useful as it is, it's something that's timeless and it'll never go away. Like there's always going to be people making furniture. There's always going to be people building houses, and there's always going to be people, looking to improve what they're doing on their own and wanting to learn. So I like to. I'm with you, man. The movement's cool. I'm glad that this tiny bit that I'm a part of it, that I'm working my way. So you want to answer questions, dude?
Yeah, we got one. Actually, we got one here on YouTube actually as well, in the comments. There's questions. That's the hardest part about this, is trying to figure out where the questions are coming from. But yeah, we got one on YouTube that says from Josh. He says, "Guys, I need a random orbital sander. What brands do we recommend?" I guess this is just my mentality when it comes to tools, and I think I talked about this in a previous live show. I just recommend buying the top of the line tool that you can at your budget point. If your budget is $150, don't overextend yourself beyond your budget to buy a $350 tool. Just buy the best one you can for that. And there's plenty of brands out there. I've got a Dewalt Orbital sander. It wasn't the highest end Orbital sander, but it's been fantastic. I've had it for years. I beat the crap out of it, and I use it all the time. And that's just kind of my mentality when it comes to tools. And there's certain things out there that are worth spending a little bit more money on. There's certain things out there that are not worth spending more money on. And figure out your budget, what you're comfortable spending, and what I think what you're going for, and maybe if there's any features that you specifically want in a tool, and then buy that highest end one that you can at that price point, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I've had 4 of those orbital sanders though, and I've blown them all out. They I'm doing 20 times the sanding you are. I mean, I'm because this is all I do all day every day. So I made the investment. I have a 6-inch Festool Rotex with the dust collection and everything, and I just saved up for it for a year and then made the investment, and it saves me so much time. But I started out with the single speed DeWalt random orbital you get at Lowe's for like $56, I think it is. Lasted me a year and a half of using it nonstop, and then I replaced the pads on it twice. I blew out another one, and then I have a random orbital. I still have one, and then I also have the one that isn't a Velcro pad, and it's not random. It's the oscillating. It's just the square pad. You cut the sheet, put it on.
Oh, right.
I use it for finishing. So, but I see a lot of guys using the Porter cable as well, and you can check out like John Peters' channel. He's been using a Porter cable for years, and he swears by it. Jimmy DeResta uses the random orbital DeWalt, the little guy, and it gets they do fantastic work. So you don't have to really jump at the high end. I'm going to agree with you. If you can afford a tool on your budget, always get the most expensive one because it's going to be the better tool. Tools are one of those things that price does justify the quality of what's going on in there. And I mean, if you're paying for it, you're usually getting something that's a better tool. Now, there's a lot of stuff out there that's a lot of bells and whistles. Do your research and ask some people in the industry, but I'll agree with you on that. Like if you have $150 to buy a tool and it's $140, buy it. Don't settle for the cheaper one, because you're just going to be ending up going back and getting in anyway.
Yeah, I agree. You spend the $150 and you buy it once and it might last you 10 years, or you spend the $79 and you buy 3 of them in 10 years and you end up spending more money. So like Uh,
I did. It was like I'm sick of spending $70 at a pop to buy these sanders.
yeah, I really like mine. Mine's the random orbit variable speed. So it's not
Yeah,
the bottom of the line.
yeah. I had the bottom one, 3 of them.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully that answers Josh's question.
Mm-hmm.
We got another question here. What's the best way for a person without a kiln to drive?
I'll jump on this because I probably buy a lot more wood. This is a tough one, man. So you can always buy wood properly with spacers in a area of storage that is dry, that is going to be relatively the same temperature year round, and you'll usually get some good results. But that takes that's like 4 to 5 years of drying that way, especially if it's like a freshly sawn tree. Kiln's going to be the way to go, just because they're going to be able to get that moisture point down below 10%, in that like 10 to 7% range, I think is where you want it to be, that you're able to work with it and it's not going to pop on you. It's not going to, have water seeping out of it. I bought wood before that literally I cut it and it was damp and I wanted to cry because I bought it on Craigslist and thought I was getting a killer deal. But if you can't do that, I believe BJ Mac Wood on Instagram, as well as he has a YouTube channel, I don't know if he keeps up with it anymore, built a kiln off of his garage outside with plastic sheeting, 2x4s, a couple box fans, and I want to say like a space heater. And he said it works killer. And this dude is the highest end of woodworker. Like, he is doing stuff that'll blow your mind. So look into that. Can I text in here? No? I'll write that name down so you can look it up.
I don't know. If we re-upload this, we can put it in the description.
Yeah. You see that?
No. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, so check that out on Instagram at least. And you can go to his website and stuff. And I'm almost positive it was him. He built himself a kiln. And obviously you can go on YouTube and find just about anything to do. But I would just buy dry wood, to be honest. If you cut down your own tree and it's a black walnut and you want to make some stuff with it, make some plans and then sit there for 5 years, that's when you're going to be able to use it. But besides that, you could probably find most stuff or sell it wet and then letting people know it's wet and go buy the dry stuff with what you make. That'd be my advice.
Or buy a shipping container off the back of a truck, bury it in your yard, and make a kiln that way. That's what I would do if I had the space.
And now you have a bug out bunker, which obviously all of us need because the apocalypse is coming.
And you have a bug out bunker if shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
Use it as a kiln, and then maybe keep some canned goods nearby just in case.
Exactly, canned goods and a bow and arrow.
How many questions you got? I've got a few more here. I think answer a few more questions and then kind of just wrap things up. But
yeah, they've been on here for a while. So I got
it tends to run longer than you think.
Yeah, I know, right? I got a question from this week's post on from SparkBow65 on my Instagram. It is, what is the most used wood tool you have and your favorite stain and finish combination? I'll let you go ahead first since I've been talking too much.
Favorite wood tool is, I guess my table saw.
Yeah.
As far as a power tool, I use that one for almost everything. And I think that's pretty common. Everybody that uses woodworking or does woodworking or whatever, they use a table saw for just any job that they possibly can. I don't have a particularly fancy table saw. I don't have a fan stop or anything. It's the Dewalt.
Yeah, I have one of those.
What was the second part? The favorite finish?
Stain and finish combination.
Stain, I like a red oak finish in terms of color. I just like the brown, like the deep brown kind of finish. Any deep brown finish I like. And then typically I use a lot of polyurethane and a lot of people don't like it, and I like it because of how resilient it is. Because like I said, I'm not that nice to a lot of my stuff,
Yeah.
and when I'm building something for somebody else, I don't want them to come back to me, in a year and say like, "Oh, scratch the crap out of it," or something. Like I like to give it a little bit more solid kind of finish so that people don't have to worry about damaging it. But that's just me.
I agree, man. My favorite tool, I'll probably go with the Rotex Festool Rotex that I just was talking about. That thing, man, it's pretty new still. I mean, I've only had it for a couple months, so I'm still like giddy when I get to use it, which is like every other day. But I love that tool. It's a killer tool. Festool makes some great stuff, and you're paying for it though, so that's awesome. But I'm also a huge fan of my table saw as well. I upgraded to a hybrid Dewalt. It's not a cabinet, but I think it's a 2 horsepower, 10-inch table saw, and it's great. It's really helped me step my game up when I moved into like full-time furniture making. So that's awesome. And then I don't stain a ton of stuff because I do a lot of natural finishes, but I do love the color on Minwax's new Yakabine is the name of it. It's a very cool like dark tone that's got some I guess it's I don't know, it's more black than walnut, like their dark walnut shade. So I like that stain. I've been using that on random stuff here and there, and I'm a big water-based polyurethane guy. So I do have a sprayer that I use here and there, and the water-based is a killer product. General Finishes obviously makes a great one, and I am a big fan because of the same things you said. You get the protective qualities of having a polyurethane, but with the water-based, you don't have the traits of oil that over the years will yellow with sunlight. So I am a big fan of that, and it's also an easy cleanup. It's very easy to use, and I haven't had a single client complain, and I've used it on probably 90% of my projects. And I guess the color of choice would be semi-gloss, and I use Minwax makes a good one too that I usually snag up at Home Depot for like $47 a gallon.
Yeah, I agree. That's the same type of stuff I like too. Everybody has their style, but a question that I had actually was like a 3-part question. We answered 2 parts of it, and the third part of it was, what's your favorite type of wood to work with?
I love reclaimed pine wood. Like it, no one likes it, but I think the character you get in the knots and in the differences in the grain in over time, it pulls and picks up color. I'm a huge fan of working with reclaimed pine, and it's not that hard on your tools if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a much softer wood than a lot of the other types of wood. I mean, for me, if I were to pick a hardwood that I really like, and I think it's a lot of people feel that way. It's, I would go with walnut all the time.
Yeah.
I had the choice. It's such a beautiful color and the grain patterns and everything, and it makes everything look nice regardless of what it is. And so 100%. I think if I had a choice and it was readily accessible and I could get it easily, like Matt Cremona.
Yeah.
That guy has more walnut than I've ever seen, and I'm so envious of
so much walnut.
Dude, he's got slabs and slabs and slabs and slabs. I talk to him on Instagram all the time about it. It's like, dude, it's ridiculous.
It really is. I agree, though. I have a walnut slab sitting in my shop right now. You can snag those up on eBay, though, for a decent price. I put that out there on my social before. Give it a look. I've gotten some good walnut slabs on eBay. They don't get huge, but you can get some decent stuff. And then those would be my top 2 as well. I mean, and then cherry wood would be my last one. Like I was talking before. I love the color of cherry. I love how you still get a rustic graining in it, but you get a good hard wood, and it's stable. You get a nice. If you get some curly cherry, you can get some cool figure in it too. That'll really, like, if you get sanding up there and 1,000 grit and put a good finish on it, you can really get some depth in there. I'm a fan of that as well.
I like contrast if I'm going to be building something. So like if I'm building something hardwood, it's a combination, right? It's
Yeah.
probably like a maple of some kind and a walnut or something that's very contrasty.
That's why I'm a big I do a ton of industrial furniture. So I get like the metal and the wood contrast. I'm
Yeah.
also a big fan of it. Like right now I'm sitting at my desk in my house and it's all reclaimed pine wood that I made. Maybe I'll show another video, but I had to put some metal on it because I was like, this has no contrast to it. So I put like metal pools and like metal corner like things on it because I'm a big fan of the contrast as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things a goal for myself is to do a little bit more of the industrial metal wood combo, that dichotomy of material.
Good
really,
world, good stuff to be in. It's versatile too. You're not married to it because the joinery is usually not something permanent.
I've just got one more question. I don't know if you got any more, but
Go ahead, shoot.
this is a good one, actually. It's when building, do you prefer to have clear, detailed plans, or are you more of a freestyler or something in between?
I've evolved through all of those stages, as you said. I went from building just all in my head, standing there in front of the table with the wood, like, what do I do? How do I get this to work? And then I've also worked with extremely detailed plans. It depends on usually what I'm building. So if I'm making anything pertaining to a cabinet, I always want to have a plan first, because when you're cutting sheet goods, you want to maximize your ability to use that sheet good. So I like to have that done. But I also do make plans for like anything I'm making anymore, because I'm buying all the materials or I'm sourcing the materials. Helps me with the business side of it, being able to break things down and source them by board feet and whatnot. And then I can go in on the other side and then go ahead and know where I'm going to be with that build out. So I find the most fun when I'm able to, like, I don't know, elaborate on a project I'm doing. Like I have an idea and I know what I'm building, and then I get something done and I add on, an accent detail, or I take the finish and I go a different route with it, and I take a variate, like that one piece of like sapwood that was on the board you bought, and I run it down the middle of the table because it's got a contrast in it or something like that. I think that's a ton of fun, and that'd be mostly where I wing it. I am building for clients at the end of the day, so if I throw some kink in there and they don't like it, I'm up shit creek. So I got to kind of stay to the path or the plan of when I'm selling, especially because my business works that I sell on commission, so everything's planned first and then built.
For me, one of the things that I like to do, obviously video making is a big component of what I like to do. So I like to model things and try to do as much in 3D as I can, for two reasons. One, because it helps me plan things and gives me a visual style. I can play around a lot more on the front end and then know exactly what I need to do on the back end. And number two, when I have those models and I've done that work, it helps me illustrate to my audience what it is that I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
Rather than just standing there and telling them, this is what's happening. I'm going to show you what it is that we're going to do, and this is the illustration of it, and this is the components of it, and this, that, and the other thing. Now I'm going to show you the build, and then you're going to see the final product. So I find that it's a good investment if you can, and you have the ability to do that, to model stuff up front. But I do enjoy just kind of stepping into the shop or tackling a project sometimes, just, kind of spitballing it. But it's usually only when I'm doing something for myself. It's rarely when I'm doing something for somebody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's good. We've been in it for about an hour.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Goes by pretty quick. And so I just wanted to take a second and say, first of all, thank you to you, John, for, taking the time out of your schedule and jumping in and doing this hangout with me. And secondly, thank you to everybody who's tuned in and asked us questions and submitted questions via social media and all that stuff. And I hope you guys got the answers that you're looking for, or at least some kind of a guidance. And if you guys enjoyed this, please let us know, John or myself, on social media or in the comments below. Hit the like button, all that type of stuff, so that we know you guys want to see more of this type of content. And we'll go from there. John, where can they find you and the stuff that you do?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at John_Malecki, and then on Facebook at John Malecki. Everything's my name. And I want to thank you for having me on. This is pretty cool. Never done something like this before. I've done a ton of interviews between football and this part of my life now, and never done a video one before. So this was awesome. I want to thank everyone that tuned in as well. I don't know if anyone came from my end of the spectrum because this would be pretty new for them, but I know you got some people that tuned in, and thank you guys for hopping on and asking us questions. This is cool. Always want to help and give back as much as we can, because it's, at the end of the day, it is about the community and it is about everyone else that's looking to be involved and looking to learn. So I got my start on YouTube, and I'm glad that we can come out here and help you guys learn some stuff and give back to you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so be sure to follow John on Instagram and social media, and subscribe to his new YouTube channel. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Mr. Fix-It channel if you're not already. And if you guys have any questions, always available via Twitter, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. All the links are in the description. So feel free to hit me up anytime. And I guess that's about it. Thanks so much, John.
Thank you, man.
And we'll talk soon.
Yeah, take it easy.
All right, take care.